the school district this morning who will speak to us, it's Charleston County School District, and it'll be Dr. McGinley, who is the superintendent, and Chris Fraser, who's the board chair. Charleston, we started with Charleston about a year ago now, right? And one of the things that I can really say about Charleston is they went on high speed, warp speed, to move to the evidence-based leadership model to the leader evaluation component. And so they just completed putting their whole leadership course, basically, on the leader evaluation. And they did that really in record time. So I don't think they realize the accomplishment. It's just we've just kind of been moving so fast, but it's been a great accomplishment. I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen in the near future with them. But what Dr. McGinley is going to do, what we asked Charleston to do is really for Dr. McGinley to talk about how she set the stage for a vision. And then what we have come in to do is really talk through about how do we execute that vision to ensure that the results are there from year to year to year so that the school district can achieve that vision. So Dr. McGinley is going to give you that vision, and then Chris is going to provide some input from the board perspective about that process. Dr. McGinley?
Oh, you got it. Sorry. Thanks, Janet. And Chris and I are going to go back and forth, and we don't have a whole lot of slides, but we have a couple. First of all, I enjoyed this morning and learning from districts that are further ahead of us. And in a way, I thought it's hard to go behind them because we are in the beginning stages of evidence-based leadership, and you are further advanced and have done some incredible things. And I wish we didn't have to go behind you, but I want to talk about why evidence-based leadership makes sense to us, and I would suppose it makes sense to you for some of the same reasons. We know we have to get better at what we do. Okay? We know that in our state, when the Common Core standards influence the next state assessment, our kids aren't prepared because our teachers are not trained yet. Our teachers are not teaching to that level. So that's a big reason we have to get better at what we do. The second reason in Charleston that we have to get better at what we do is that we want the schools to be an asset to our community. We have an incredible community where visitors come from all over the world to be in Charleston. We have people moving there. We have companies coming to Charleston, such as Boeing. But one of the things they're saying is we don't have people with employable skills. So when Boeing came a year and a half ago, they started bringing in employees from all over the country rather than feeling they could rely upon the graduates locally. And so we want to be an asset to our community. And then the third reason, in my view, is a moral reason. And we have worked for many years, I'm in my 6th year as superintendent, making progress. We've been working toward the same 3 goals: elevate achievement overall, improve the high school graduation rate, and close the achievement gap. And we've made progress on 2 out of the 3 goals. But the close the achievement gap goal, we've only made about this much progress. So we don't have a district that I can honestly say the African American graduation rate and the Hispanic graduation rate is on par with the Caucasian graduation rate, nor can I say that poor kids who live in poverty are graduating at the same rate as kids who don't live in poverty. So until we can say we're making progress on all 3 goals, we know we have to get better. And we are getting better. If you look up here, we get a state report card in South Carolina. All the schools get a report card, and 2 of our principals are back there if you want to raise your hand. They'll tell you about the school report cards. But this is our district report card. When I became superintendent, our absolute rating was below average, and our growth rating was average. And it's sort of the A, B, C, D, E, F, excellent, good, average, below average, or at risk. So we were here in 2011, we moved up to our highest rating ever. Good, absolute rating, excellent, growth rating. But if you dig down a little deeper, you know that there are still extremely high needs in some of our schools. And we know we have to have evidence of what's working and why. And that's where we see the evidence-based leadership and the feedback. When I became superintendent, the previous superintendent's evaluation was 72 data points, most of which were subjective. She returns board phone calls. She's nice to work with. She does it. And so I negotiated my first contract with about 80% objective criteria that was linked to student achievement, because I trusted my teachers and principals more than I trusted school board. That we could move things forward, and I'd get a better shape if it was tied to achievement.
I resemble that remark.
And I'm still here. But what we have not had until this year is alignment where my evaluation cascades down through the organization, through the senior team. Some of my senior team is here, our CFO, Mike Bobby, our deputy for organizational advancement, Audrey Lane, is here. And now their evaluations are linked to my evaluation, as are the principal evaluation, or will be this coming year. And the thing that you realize when you are a leader and you move up in any organization is the higher up you go in an organization, the more you depend upon the people who report to you. Because I have 46,000 kids and presumably 92,000 parents. I can't return all those phone calls. And as many meetings as I attend, I can't engage everybody in our community. So it has to be a team effort, and the vision has to be owned by everybody. And I like what Robin and Janet said earlier, that you trust your people are going to do good work, but you need to verify. And you need to be able to drill down as to where they're not doing the work or where the ball is getting dropped. And I'm going to...
Interestingly enough, in 2010, when I was elected chair, one of the first things we did was we got the board together, now a good time, we had a workshop. And it was the first meeting, and to say that we had varying agendas, not all of which were dedicated towards student achievement, would be an understatement. But one of the things I did when I got the board together for the very first time is I asked everybody to write on an index card, in a year or two or whatever, if you were successful, what would it look like? It was a little bit of a risk because I wasn't sure what some of them thought successful would look like. Strangely enough, at the end of the day, when you wrote what the 9 folks thought up there, at one level or another, everybody eventually wanted student achievement to improve. And for the first time ever, as far as I know, the board actually sat down and said, where are we with student achievement at a bunch of different levels and where do we want to be? And we graphed out in conjunction with Dr. McGinley's Vision 2016 statements, which you'll get into in a minute. We said, well, okay, what would those performance metrics look like? Where would we be as a district in 5 years? And we literally put numbers on the table. We had never had numbers on the table before. There was always an objective to get better. We always wanted to do better, but we never just said, here's the line in the sand. And so our projections, which I think you've got literature on, I don't know if it's on the slide, talk about where we're going to be in 5 years, what's the expectation of how we're going to get there, and then the adoption of and using Janet and Robin helping us get to those goals. And then we started talking about, now, let's align everybody with those expectations. And so it really was one of the few aha moments we had as a board. We've had another of oh really moments since then, but regardless, fortunately the majority understands the work and we're moving forward. So,
well, what you see on on the slide, and what Janet referred to is our accelerated movement to evidence-based leadership, but it really was fortuitous that we joined forces because we were getting ready to write the next phase of our strategic plan. And I passed this out, and you should have these on your table. This is a summary of Vision 2016. Our strategic plan in 2007, when I became superintendent, was Charleston Achieving Excellence. And we had, as I mentioned, 3 goals. What we did not have in that first phase of Charleston Achieving Excellence were measurable goals. We said improve the graduation rate, but we did not say how far and by when. Nor did we have board leadership, because we basically got the senior leadership together, my cabinet, and got some input from principals, and then took the strategic plan to the board and more or less got their blessing, but certainly not their involvement, and in many cases, not even an in-depth understanding of what they were blessing. The second thing we really did very superficially at that first go-round of the strategic plan was community input. And so this was very different in 2 major ways. We actually the board took the lead and went out, did not host the meetings at our usual school district headquarters, but went out into our county and held meetings throughout the county at high schools and listened to, in some cases, a couple hundred people come and give input to this question: where should the district be in 2016? And then the second question was, what are the things we're doing right and need to keep doing, and what do we need to let go? So the board was listening, we were gathering community input, it was on our website, we were very transparent, and then the board adopted these goals after we gathered all the information. So first time measurable.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand this was not a go out and tell the public what you ultimately want them to agree with. We said, here's where they are. And these were not just public meetings with parents. These were community leaders, parents, teachers, principals. Are these goals achievable? Is it where we want to be? And we really did get feedback. And we had those groups come back to the board meeting when we adopted these goals and said, we're here, we support you, tell us what our role in helping you get there is. And that's a very dramatic difference in discussion that's taking place.
So our quality pillar, as yours is, I'm sure, is student achievement. If you look on page 5, the board deliberately, and I think pretty shrewdly, kept the goals, the big goals, few, limited, because our community can only pay attention, anybody who's not in education is not going to be able to pay attention to all the sub-goals that we know we have at each individual school. So we picked 3rd grade reading and math, 8th grade reading and math, and high school graduation rate as the 3 big indicators that we are going to track over time and report on annually. The dark orange is where we started in 2011. Our scores, how many kids were making the mark based on our state test in 2011, meeting the standard. Where do we think we can be in 2016? And that target was truly established by the community meetings and by the board's endorsement. So this now becomes our annual scorecard, our data dashboard that will be reported out on a district level and then on a school level.